want to kick off our webinar here, and I'll start. This might not be as I'm not necessarily looking to demo what we do. I'll show you a little bit about the BeBop platform in a moment. But I really want to talk about working from home or working remotely and collaborating with people. So one of the points that I want to make here is that if any of you out there know me, and several people do that I see on the attendee list, thank you. You know that I'm an engineer and that I've worked for 30 years behind the camera. So I'm going to go ahead and start my video. Hey folks, my name's Nathaniel Bonini, and I'm the Director of Sales Engineering here at BeBop Technology. And you are looking at my home office. And I'd like to point out a couple of things about working remotely, especially working from home in these times. One of the most important things I think is that you can do is turn on your camera, and what you have to understand is we're all in the same boat. We're all working from home. We all have pets, cats, dogs, whatever, kids running around. There are a lot of distractions going on. These are not normal times. So what I urge people to do is give each other a break and turn your camera on and get those social cues that we don't normally get when we are on a video conference or collaborating with people remotely. I think it's very important to do that. I want to give you a little bit of my background and how I got here today, and I think it's important for the conversation of working remotely, working from home. So I started. I've been with BeBop for about a year and a half, almost a year and a half now. And prior to that, I was the director of video engineering for a large media company, and prior to that, I was running a very busy integration department at a small integrator in New York. And some of my experiences over the past, say, 20 years, especially as we moved from film to tape to pure digital on hard drives, we've seen a lot of transitions. Even over the last 20 years in the industry, and I think this is one of them, where we'll see more people working remotely, more people being able to do their work as they live their daily lives. And I think that's an important thing for people to keep in mind, is that you can have a great work-life balance if you do work remotely by scheduling in those life things into your calendar as you go about your day. It's important as you do your work and as your day evolves, to make sure that you take care of yourself while you're working remotely, and no time more important than now. That's incredibly important. But my background, as I said, is as an integrator in a busy camera shop in New York City and in digital cinema technology. And I think one of the most valuable things to happen in cinema, media, and entertainment is this move into the cloud and into virtualization of the work that needs to be done for production and post-production. One of the interesting projects that I had started to be involved in many years ago, if any of you remember the Shooting Gallery, was their production software. And it was an exciting thing to build software to help people run their productions as they were running around. I was a location manager in the 90s, working on set. And if any of you have done production work, you know how much you run around and how much your life depends on your cellular telephone. Because at the time we didn't have smartphones, so we were still working with faxes and cell phones. But my point is that we were still able to have some sort of collaborative work going back then. One of the wonderful things that has happened to work over the past 20 years is smartphones and tablets and the ability to access the internet from anywhere. So what are we talking about when we talk about remote work and remote collaboration? Well, some of the elements of collaboration are the flexibility that some of the things that we talk about when we talk about remote collaboration and remote workflows is the flexibility that it gives you. And one of the wonderful things about moving media and entertainment workflows into the cloud is that if your data is there and your workstations are available to you 24/7, you can work from wherever you want, however you need to work. And that's one of the beauties of the BeBop platform. And truly, that's one of the things that drew me to the technology that BeBop provides, and the workflows that it enables. Having run a small post facility where in essence we were a dub shop, and we also fixed footage when it came in from various cameras for various issues, including, but we also did tape to hard drive transfers, and we fixed footage with time code breaks and with negative image lag imprinted on it, and you know, high speed, off speed footage, and making sure that worked in things like Final Cut Pro and things like that. You know, some of the benefits there are the very powerful technologies that are available in the cloud, and the ability to experiment with workflows that you may not get access to if you didn't have that horsepower behind you. And so the ability for us to experiment with novel workflows and to utilize more and more of the processing power that's immediately available to you in the cloud, I think is very important. And I think that's changing the way that media and entertainment is looking at the cloud and looking at the power of the cloud to get work done. One of the benefits that I've had throughout my career is being part of being a vendor and also being a client. I've been on both sides of the fence many times. And one of the things that impressed me about BeBop when I initially met them, and I'll never forget the day that I did my Google search and found all these great people that I now get to work with in BeBop. But one of the things that absolutely was frustrating our ability to get work done was putting these giant systems together for 100 editors to work at the same time, and having to work with multiple other departments in a large organization that may or may not understand how video flows through an IT type system, where their job had been to make sure that email gets to a client, or make sure that you can access your Excel file. Well, that's all well and good, but imagine that you're accessing an Excel file that's a terabyte, and you've got 100 people doing that at the same time. then figure out how the systems need to work, and the ability to put these massive systems in place and really at the drop of a hat, and then decommission them as you need them or as you don't need them was really a tremendously powerful tool that has allowed us to, as I said, grow and experiment with a lot of the with a lot of novel workflows for media and entertainment, and particularly these days in cinema, as the image rasters grow and frame rates grow, and the amount of data that you have to handle is obscene. I mean, we're talking petabytes of data that are generated on a feature film. That's a lot of data to deal with, and it's not easy to move it around, and it's not easy to manipulate it in all cases, where you need to render camera selects 20 different ways for 20 different people and 20 different reasons, and those all have to come back and get reincorporated in the project. It's not easy to do. So some of those things where I could see the light where as a client we struggled to do a lot of this work on-prem. And the ability to have access to these data centers, which are global and tremendously powerful in and of themselves, not to mention multiple data centers and multiple regions and on and on and on. It really opened my eyes to what the possibilities are once you start working in the cloud, and to see BeBop in action in my facility was great, but more important to see it in action from my home when I was able to pop an edit into the cloud, work on it a little bit in the office, and then go home and continue working on the same workstation was a tremendous eye-opening experience. So those are some of the things that were particularly poignant, and that I enjoyed working with on the BeBop platform. Some of the other interesting things that we've looked for and that we've worked with are asset management systems as well. And a very powerful combination of tools is to bring your asset management system to the mix and utilize the BeBop ecosystem and build asset management into that ecosystem. And from that, you have immediate access to searchable and indexed data with a tremendous amount of metadata, and you can build teams, and you can build collaboration around that. And collaboration in the cloud is one of the most important aspects that we have of working in the cloud. And for those of you who work, I see a couple of people here who work in large facilities. Imagine having your 10 petabyte SAN unbolted from the data center and let it sort of float around in the ether. You don't care where it is. It doesn't matter where it is. It doesn't matter where that workstation is, just that it can see the data that's on that storage. And having the ability, instead of being tethered to an on-prem workflow, to have the ability to go anywhere you need to be and tap into that power is unprecedented. So that's really one of the important pieces of why I came to BeBop, and one of the very incredible things that working in the cloud allows you to do. Some of the it's funny. I opened this webinar by saying that I'm typically not the guy in front of the camera, and that I've spent 30 years behind cameras and behind the scenes doing this work, and find myself looking for the questions on the webinar chat to see if to see who's listening and what kind of things you all are dealing with these days, and how BeBop technology might be able to help you with that, or on a personal note, how we can communicate and collaborate and help you with any of the landmines that you're currently walking on right now. I realize that a lot of you have come here to see the BeBop platform and what we do. I really simply wanted to talk about collaboration, working from home and working remotely, and how my experience with BeBop and my experience with the BeBop team, and how that has enhanced my not only understanding, but enhanced my vision of where any of this can go, and from a media and entertainment standpoint, but also simply from a work standpoint, being able to work on a common data set using different modes of interfaces. And if you imagine you have a ball of data and everyone's looking at it in a different way, there is your as people joke, there is your Google Docs for media and entertainment, and where everybody can work on this data at one time, and work on it in a different way, where you have visual effects, you have motion graphics, you have editorial, you have all kinds of different artists and talents working on one common set of data to make a feature film or a TV show or any piece of content that you can think of. So with that, I'd love to see if any of you have any questions, or if you'd like to see anything in particular. One of the things that I do a lot is demonstrate the platform. So if you'd like to see a little bit more about the platform, I'm happy to show you. Feel free and shoot me over a question if you can. Just hit that Q&A button on the bottom, and I'd be happy to answer some questions or discuss whatever you'd like. All right. So why don't we jump into? I'm going to jump into a demo here, and what I'm going to do is let's see. I am already logged into my client, so why don't I share my screen with you? If you can all see my screen right now, you can see that I've logged into the BeBop client, and I have access to 6 workstations right here. And these workstations, I've already got one spun up and ready to go. I don't want it. It takes about a minute or 2 to spin up the workstations when you do click on one. And some of the tools we have here on the side allow us to look and see what the workstations are doing. It also allows us to ingest content into the high-speed block stores that we use for the workstations, and then of course we can download that as we need to download it, or set up a hot folder if that's what we want to do, so that we can push content right into our block storage and have it ready for work. So I've already launched this workstation. It's sitting down here on my toolbar. So I'm going to go in and show you. Right now, I'm simply looking at a virtual workstation in the cloud. One of the really cool things about this is, as you can see, there really isn't any difference between what I'm looking at now and my desktop, except that I'm working on a machine that's got 3 times more CPUs. It's got 122 gig of memory and a really fast GPU. And I don't have that. I don't have that in my machine at home. So what I'm looking at right now is a dashboard that allows me to see what's going on my workstation. And as you can see, I have access to a project here, which is just a bit of shared storage. So for example, all 6 of these workstations can access the same shared storage that I have mounted here. And it's very simply mounted on the Z drive. And everybody can access it. The other neat thing is that with people that are geographically disparate, I'm in New York. I could be working with a motion graphic artist in Alabama, and they could be doing motion graphics, and I can be editing away. And if you know how those templates work in the Adobe workspace, we can be working in real time together and collaborating on the edit and the graphics at the same time. And it's a very slick way to collaborate. However, what I'm going to do is I've already fired up Premiere, and I have a 1080p project in here, which is a modest bit rate. I believe it's 50 or 100 megabits. And when I do these demos, what I like to show is I just like to show that the interface is fluid, and I can rock and roll my playhead as much as I want. I can get in here and I can work at speed as an editor, so I can pick and edit, and I can do a quick insert edit, or I'll tell you again, I'm an engineer and not an editor, and I warn people of that when I do demos. However, if you watch editors and creatives work with these tools, they work with them so much, they're very fast, and they know they've got the creative process down, and they just want to get that out of their head. And one of the wonderful things about this is that I don't necessarily have the horsepower at home to work in the manner or as fast as my brain thinks. So everybody finds it challenging when you have to render a sequence and then you play, and then you see what it looks like, and then you make a change and you render a sequence and then you play. Everyone's had that experience. I don't have to do that. I have enough horsepower at my fingertips that I can simply do my work at the speed at which I'm thinking about it, and I'm and there are no impediments to doing that. One of the things that one of the tenets of my work over the last 20 years is, as I've been working with people and working with artists and working on various projects, is that the technology has to be transparent to the creative process, and I think that's very important. So whatever you think about the tools, whatever you think about the NLEs, they're there. They're the same tools that you use on-prem. We give you the extra horsepower so that you can work as fast as you need to work, so that those tools become transparent to the process of creating content, creating graphics, whatever you're creating. BeBop allows you to do those at a speed which only people in high-end shops had access to before. And that's really one of the brilliant points of working in the cloud and working on the BeBop platform. So I'll let this play out a little bit, and with that, if there are any questions, please fire away. I'm happy to answer any more questions. And really, I encourage any of you out there, if you haven't seen the platform, and sorry, I'm just reading a question here. The question is, can you describe the big picture? Are you remoting into another machine, or are you streaming picture to a local workstation? This is a remote machine. This machine is in San Jose, California, and I'm in New York City, and I'm working on it directly. So that is that's the scenario. It is a remote machine, and I am simply looking at the basically a screen share of that machine. It is a very different kind of screen share than you're looking at right now, as we vetted a lot of technology, and we've made sure that the technology that we're using is the most color accurate and the most frame accurate that there is today. Next question comes in and says, how would you deliver this cut to someone not in BeBop, i.e. a post facility or not for broadcast? That's a great question. A lot of times Knox will have a website or a place to post that, or you can utilize an object store and pick the content out from an object store directly. So you can post it directly from the workstation. You can share it out into an object store and pick it up directly, or you can bring it back down and download it directly on your machine and post it that way. It really depends on how your NOC or how your broadcast facility picks up that content. But there are many ways to do that. This is, and the next question is about this being a VNC connection. This is not a VNC connection, and I apologize, folks, because I didn't share my sound with you. So I'm gonna go ahead and share my sound, and I hope that you can all hear that.
Sorry, pal.
The next question is that, can you discuss audio and video playback on the local machine? Can an edit facility direct video and audio to hardware and locally monitor for loudness, broadcast monitors, etc.? So currently, there is no facility for multi-channel audio. So if you're doing 5.1, Atmos, that sort of thing, we have to use the audio that we're supporting right now is stereo audio, and you could absolutely put that into a loudness meter, but there is no. It's very different than having an HDSDI monitor next to you. 9 times out of 10, we find that people ask for those external monitors. They don't necessarily need them, but as far as loudness meters and those sorts of things, yes, they're very important in the process. We do support a QC process that allows you to monitor for that. And with that, folks, apologize if there are more questions. Please email them. We're happy to answer any questions you have. One last question is about NLE supported. No, Final Cut Pro 7 is not supported. This is not a virtual Mac environment. This is a virtual Windows environment. And with that, I thank you very much and look forward to your questions offline. Thanks a lot, folks. Bye.